Alright, boys and grand and Genevieve. Lords of Dread. It feels like forever that I haven't made one of these. Other bosses exist? What? Alright, Lords of Dread is a position-based encounter, completely position-based, and it's primarily a healer skill check. Okay, the healers have to do quite a few things, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about the setup first for the positioning itself. Tanks, you're going to tank the boss to two bosses 30-degree apart from each other so as to not get hit by the cleave. Melee, you've got a couple of fail points here, okay? You're going to be talking about a few different pass fail points which are important for you. It's not one shot and instant wipe like Anduin, but something to keep in mind. First, never be in front of the bosses. The bosses will mostly be in the same sort of frontal space, but because there are tank swaps happening pretty consistently, almost on cooldown in this encounter, just be very aware, okay? Always be behind the boss. You don't even need to be inside the hitbox, just be max melee range. Ranged and healers, you're going to position yourself towards the outside walls of the arena. The space inside the red arrows is the no-go zone, okay? But the no-go zone, I don't mean you can never go into it, just don't be standing there during a regular fight. The mechanics happening that you need to resolve, you can go in there. Just don't be standing there casting stuff, okay? Use this sort of use these lines on the arena to mark the no-go zone just a little bit inside. You can be standing kind of on the lines, and you will be, just don't be too far towards the middle. Tanks, just make sure we don't tank the boss towards the edge for a very specific reason, okay? Tank the boss kind of along the outside of these lines, just right over here, and kind of move along the room in this fashion. Alright, for the setup, you're going to download your weak horrors. There's a few different weak horrors we're going to use. This one's pretty straightforward. During the Among Us phase, if you see the big Dreadlord over the player, you just click on the player's nameplate, the 0, and it'll turn into a 1, okay? This here is a pretty important one, guys. This is when you get targeted by the Slumber Cloud, and when you cleanse, just like Heroic, you're going to shoot out the green shit that slowly goes across the room. These will just tell you in which direction you're going to shoot these out. The things that you shoot out are based on the direction your character is facing. So there's one going straight out, one going at approximately 30 degrees, and one going out this way. Okay, that's the approximate position, and this just helps you not face it at the melee. Okay, that's the only reason we have this. You do not want to point these into the melee stack, okay? If you're a range player and you're cleansing it right here, make sure the green arrow is not going towards the boss. That's all you got to worry about. Not face it towards the boss. There's a lot of abilities in this fight, guys. I want you to basically eliminate the timers in your boss add-on for almost everything except Slumber Cloud and Cloud of Carrion. Everything else will get called out. So when you go into your boss mod, whatever you use, whatever say show timer, just disable that for everything except Cloud of Carrion and down here Slumber Cloud. It can get overwhelming otherwise. If you're able to keep track of other stuff, sure. But to prevent you from not noticing these two things, make sure you have that. Alright, the reason we tank the boss not towards the edge is for the first mechanic, which is Slumber Cloud. Slumber Cloud needs to be baited, okay? Every time Slumber Cloud is happening melee, you need to disengage from the boss and you need to go to the edge, okay? For this reason, we have the Cloud Bait bar, okay? This gives you a bait bar as he's casting Slumber Cloud. To prevent you from losing too much uptime, you can rely on this weak arrow to move out. So you see the bar, move out. And you got to move out all the way to the edge, so as to, and not just one, everybody, because the target is random players. So you're going to bait and you're going to go right. So the Slumber Cloud is positioned along the edge. If done correctly, it should look something like this, with the Slumber Cloud all baited along the edge of the room. You can see how people are standing sort of in the no-go zone here. Right on. All right. So this is what should happen, okay? The melee, you need to disengage from the boss, go to the edge, and place your Slumber Cloud there. The other one is the Cloud of Carrion. The Cloud of Carrion, the calls for these, the raid calls, guys, These clouds are very confusing. Cloud of this, cloud of that. I'm going to use the phrase slumber bait and carrion. Okay, carrion cast. All that means is two players are going to get targeted by the green carrion. Okay, by the green carrion. It's not here. They just cleansed, but the green carrion. It's going to be two range players. Okay, it's going to be two range players every time. If for whatever reason a melee gets targeted, you're going to go back, give it to a ranged player, and come back in. All right. For the ranged players, this starts to ramp up and hurt a lot, especially after they cast their ultimate move. Okay. So if that happens, for the most part, guys, healers, there's not a lot going on when there is not the big ultimate combo move. So you should be able to pick up the carrion from the players once it gets to a high count. Range players, I want you to communicate. When you get to about 4 stacks, start saying, Jimmy needs a cleanse, or what the case might be. Healers, do your best. Jimmy, if you need a cleanse, also call it out, but also start moving towards the healers. I'm going to mark the healers, help them help you. So don't just stand all the way back here and say, I need a cleanse. Move towards the healer and cleanse while he or she moves towards you. For positioning, just remember, guys, healers, you kind of want to be in the mid range, melee, be in melee range, and the range players, you want to be max range. Primarily, the two druids we have on this fight today, your goal, the druids, is going to be to knock the ad in. Okay, the ad gets to 100 energy, you're going to knock it in from wherever it spawns, and then Mord is going to grip it into the melee stack where it gets killed. Do not interrupt that ad. The boomies, you're going to knock it in. Mord, you're going to grip it in. Alright. The final few notes here, guys. Fearful trepidation. Fear, all I'm going to say, guys, is fear circle. This is used to clear the cloud of carrion. This is what shoots out the green shit when you clear. Okay, so shoots out the green shit. Now, a melee is going to get targeted by it as well as a range. When this happens, the player is affected by the fearful trepidation. You're going to step right towards the inside. Range, stay far. Melee, move back to mid range towards the inside. Okay? People who have the cloud of carrion, you're going to cleanse. Okay? You're going to go there and cleanse. I do not want to see any unnecessary movement on this fight. It's an extremely hypercritical position-based encounter. No unnecessary movement at all, please. Once you cleanse, you're going to move back in. Range, you're going to move back in. Unless there's a reason for you to be moving, do not move. Alright, so to recap, the fail point for melee, slumber bait. Cloud or carrion as it comes towards you, dodge, dodge, dodge. Do not forget to cleanse fearful trepidation, and healers, watch the stacks of the cloud of carrion players. Okay. Of course, when he's casting his ultimate move, guys, the big swirly AoE damage phase, you come in. I should not have to tell you. You're going to use your cooldowns during that phase. Go to Warcraft logs and see where your class is using a cooldown. It is a really set in stone fight. Okay, just find the highest damage dealer, do what he or she does. Okay, and that's it. All right. One last thing. During the Among Us phase, just before it happens, I'm going to call for it. Okay, healers, this is critical. It's a really heavy healer skill check. You have to look around before it casts that and make sure you go pick up the cloud of carrion from any non-healer player. Okay, this is important. Pick up cloud of carrion from any non-healer player. Very important. Because during that phase, you can heal yourself, non-healer players can't. Okay? There's 3 out in this particular case. Hopefully they're all on healers. Alright, and we just keep moving on the room in this manner. Melee, don't forget the slumber cloud bait. Don't get frontaled by the boss. Healers, watch the cloud of carrion. Use cooldowns when assigned. Ranged, don't move unless you have to. Boomies, knock back the ad. Mod, grip it in. The boss dies. Oh, one last thing, of course, slash range 8, guys. So after the Among Us mechanic, you have to stay within, not Among Us, sorry, after the big swarm thing, you got to stay within 8 yards of friends. Just don't be more than 8 yards. And the one other thing is when he casts Cloud of Carrion melee, after his ultimate move for 50 seconds, even the boss is going to shoot out those green shitty things, okay? So if you're in melee range, he's casting Cloud of Carrion, just take a step back. Just take a breath. Don't greed. Most of the damage is in the ultimate phase anyways. Just take a step back and step back in.